Crypto Lates and Crypto Crackheads. It is Wednesday, July 28th, 2021, and let's get some timification. Before we turn it up to 2 times speed, let me play you something, a little clip of me saying that this is going to pump well before it ever pumped and when everybody was bearish as hell. So now I remained bearish, but I said I think it's going to pump. My price didn't care when I think the trend is down, and I went against the trend. And here is when I said that when Bitcoin was still at 31K, and I even let you know which fractal I thought was going to play out and exactly how that happened. And history showed that so far that fractal was the one to be looking at. So let me replay this real quick for you.
Crypto YouTube, I think the move is going to happen soon. And I wanted to show you some similarities of between previous price action in 2019, which on this channel, I've come to make the loose assumption, if not relatively safe assumption, that Bitcoin price action in current times is more like 2019, 2020, and almost nothing like, or very dissimilar from the vast majority of Bitcoin price history. So with that loose assumption made, during 2019, when Bitcoin price came down to the weekly 55, on the week, it moved up with a vengeance, 46% move. That week started under the 55. And on the daily, you had, right, where was it? Here. So this is the same spot before that 48% move. On the daily, you had a series of higher lows and bullish divergence on the daily. So those two things, weekly 55, bullish divergence and, through a series of higher lows on RSI, but lower lows on daily closing candles. That's the exact situation we have going on now. So this is the daily, not the weekly. You have a series of higher lows. This right here is a higher low than this, but price closed lower. Same with this relative to that and relative to that. So you have a series of lower low daily candle closings with higher highs on the RSI getting ready to bust out of this red zone here. While on the weekly, and this is what I've been talking about in my other videos, I think a bear trap is going to happen first, and what easier way than to close this week below the 55 and then have next week start off looking, dumpy, maybe even bring it down to 30K, and then bam, then you skyrocket up to 43K for that.
Oh, all right. Well, let's take a look at what has happened. So, what day did the trading week start? Remember I said it would go down the first couple days of the week. The trading week started on July 19th. 19th, the first 2 days, dump it a little bit after closing it below the weekly 55 to bear trap, right? Bring it down to where? About 30K. Where did those candles close? About 30K. Sure, it wicked down $500 lower, but I mean, it's still pretty close. And then Bitcoin got all the way up to 41K. Now, in the fractal that I said, I think it's going to play out the exact same. The first 2 days go down and then it screams up. That exact fractal on the weekly, though, so you can take a look at this for your future reference on how fractals work. Doesn't mean that's exactly what's going to happen, no. But you can see here that there weren't many bullish YouTubers out there, right? And sure, a lot of my calls have been crappy recently because this isn't mass market psychology. I haven't gotten everything right. That's not what I'm trying to say. And I've even called myself out for being wrong when I have, and I try to learn from it in front of everybody, right? But this week started down, made a big wick down, bear trap, then kablam in your face. So, given that price recently is moving more like 2019 and 2020, in regards to institutions with algorithms, buying and selling Bitcoin, all this kind of stuff. I mean, I think I'm going to refer to this this area a little bit more as we go along. But here's the cool thing, though, about this. That the next week after that move, it started lower, right? And it turned red, and it just kept working its way down. So let's see the week of October 28th on the daily, if it moved up 1 day before moving down or whatever. So what did I say, the 28th? Nope, it went straight down on the very first day, had a tiny rally back up, and then just kept working its way down. Bitcoin has not done that. After that week closed, I mean, how many days into this week are we? So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. So we're 3 days in, and it's still charging up. So the fractal, played out the same until this point. So it got to about $40,300, but now it's actually looking like it's going to recover better and not just capitulate down, essentially. This is looking pretty good, folks. So Now, do I think Bitcoin's in the clear and is permanently going to stay above 35K forever and ever? I'm not necessarily saying that. I think it has a strong chance, but in this video, so now you can turn it up to ×2 speed because I'm going to be talking a lot slower. I think I played that on 1.75 times speed, so I sound slow right now. If I don't already always sound slow. So here's what I think that your eyes should be on right now. First off, that 15-minute 200 EMA, it has really gotten a lot of things right. And for that move up, I was saying I think that's what's going to call it, and it did. And Bitcoin is still following it pretty darn well. These bounces are all off that 200 EMA, which is similar to like the 4-hour, 10, something like that. But it's getting it pretty well. So if and when, so since the 15-minute 200 EMA is kind of like, let's say our trend, it's the trend of bounces. And when price goes below it and stays below it, then the trend might switch down for a little bit until Bitcoin and Ethereum break back above it, right? So as you can see on Ethereum, I was saying specifically on Ethereum, watch the 15-minute 200 EMA because that will mark the pump. And that was on maybe the same video that I just showed you. Look at that. That is exactly what started the pump. Do you see this? Let me zoom in. 15-minute chart. Not pumping, not pumping, not pumping, not pumping. Still not pumping. It's coming back up to the top of this mini range. And then right as it crossed here, that's when it pumped, right? So this line is getting it right on a lot of assets. So in this video, I want to show you the things that I'm looking at without giving away any secret sauce, so that you can apply this to what you're doing within your crypto journey right now. And if you decide to watch the same things, then so be it. So for Bitcoin, what I'm watching is also this 15-minute 200 EMA. And the way I'm personally going to use it is if Bitcoin comes back below it, which I think it's going to consolidate and move sideways for a little bit, but when it finally moves below and comes up and uses it as resistance, so this orange line maybe can go like this. So let me make that orange line like that. And then I'll make my price one of these guys here just to emulate what price might do. And price might come, go like this. And then break back out of it again for the next move up. So, and maybe I shouldn't have this be in the same darn color. There we go. So once price breaks below this and uses it as resistance, I would assume that it spikes above it, but those might all be points, to sell or whatever you do with your crypto in those moments, should this line continue working. I kind of anticipate that this is what will happen, but Bitcoin could easily move straight up to like about 41,800 to about 42K, or maybe have one last gasp of air in this little rally at 41.3. I'm thinking that there might be a spike up before all of this happens. And the way you would see that spike is, let's say the 4-hour RSI. I would say if it spikes, the 4-hour RSI gets, stuck under the white line. Let me make that line white. And let me make this green. And then it spikes up here and then kind of heads down and resets and makes its way to 36K. Something to that effect. That's what you would see on the 4-hour RSI chart. A spike up, and that would create a strike of bearish divergence, a higher high in price, but a lower high in 4-hour RSI. And a lot of times, a couple strikes of 4-hour RSI does lead to, a couple red days before potentially the move continues up. So in this path here, what that would align to is the 5th of August. So perhaps a red week next week, all right? But not a monstrous red week, or the beginning of the week red. And then it may be price comes back up and the week ends like a small doji green candle, something like that. But I personally don't suspect that Bitcoin will simply keep leading up without a quick a breather to reset some indicators. So that's what I'm thinking. But before it decides to do that, before the price does that, I mean, I think there's going to be a spike up. And it could go all the way up to 43K. I would doubt that. If it did, I would short that. Personally, not financial advice, maybe 43.2. But I would say the spike would go up to about 42.2 would be the highest I would see it going before it plays that out. So that's one scenario in the short term that I see playing out. Another scenario, and let's kind of view how that would align on Ethereum. So for Ethereum, that would align with coming back down to the top of its triangle. So you had this little trend line here. And the top of the triangle is in line pretty well with a few important EMAs, one being the 4-hour 200 EMA, which most people who follow my channel by this time know that that's a pretty darn important EMA. So I think as these two important lines cross, that even Ethereum price would work its way down and maybe hit about 2120 would be my guess. Maybe slightly lower, maybe down to 2010, something to that effect. So it might bounce here, but I think it might wick down to 2010 because I know there's something down there. I have to find it here in a second. So I would say what I'm looking for in Ethereum as Bitcoin potentially does that as one play is somewhere around this box, and I think it would wick below. So I'm going to move this box out actually a little bit because I don't think it'll hit it quite yet. I would say somewhere in, and I'll put that down to 2110. I think Ethereum will hit that box sometime, somewhere, but within the time frame of that box. Actually, I'll make the box even smaller because that's an easy guess. So yeah, I'll just make this 5 years long, and if it hits it once in 5 years, I'm right? So let's make this a better guess here. Something like this. So between August 12th and August 3rd. So that's still 9 days. Let's make it even shorter. That's my box guess, okay? As one possibility. I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen. This is one thing among several possibilities that are possible. So that's, how I roll on my channel is I try to talk about a few possibilities here. And so on a percentage basis, I think that would align okay with Bitcoin, for example, coming back down to, let's say, the 35.9 range or just under 36K. That'd be a 10% move down for Bitcoin. And for Ethereum, down to 2010 would be a wick, which only is 12%, which is close to that, but then close the candle about 10% also, right at the top of this triangle. So I really see both of those things happening at the same time for Bitcoin and Ethereum. So that is personally what I'm thinking. That's my main idea right now. Do my main ideas always play out? No, but when you're trading, it's always nice to have at least an idea in your head that you plan to try to go after, even though you have multiple other ideas that you are ready to spring on if the main idea doesn't play out. But that personally is my main idea. Okay? Within that main idea, I also think, one more time to reiterate, that you could, honestly, I kind of am expecting a spike up. I would say 50-50 chance it spikes up before it moves down, if it does move down. So around 42.2 would be my guess. And you would see something like that on the RSI. All right, another situation within the short-term frame that could happen, that's another top probability, is Bitcoin truly does put in its time above the daily 200. So this line here is the daily 200. I drew it in. Let me go ahead. Or no, I think that's the daily 200. Yes. So you see how I drew that line over the daily 200? So I can be on a smaller time frame and still see it. So I think it is possible that Bitcoin puts its time in and does stay above it and forms some kind of like little, even though I'm not a pattern trader, some form of, channel down, a little flag deal where it pops up, which is kind of normal for Bitcoin during bullish moves. It likes to move like this, right? In this angle before a pop up. So I could see that happening. That would be a pretty bullish case. And in that event, if it were to do that, I bet Bitcoin would at least go to 43K before doing something similar, and then potentially going, to 46K in August. So that's a short-term / midterm move that I think is very, very, very possible. For Ethereum, what that would look like. So I like to make sure that these two assets, my ideas, are in line. Is Ethereum is above all of its major EMAs right now. So, and it's in a different posturing in terms of EMAs than Bitcoin. So, for example, the weekly, it's above its weekly 10. It's above this red line, it's above the yellow line, it's above all of these. And Bitcoin is not. Its dailies, price is well above the daily 200. So I think Ethereum will live above this for quite some time or cross it. Actually, that daily 200 EMA will hit that box, hit that line right when I drew that box on the other graph. Interesting. So actually, you know what? Ethereum might come down and test this horizontal right when the 200 EMA crosses it. And that might be what leads Bitcoin down. So how many days would that be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the end of next week, I can see that play happen. But in a more bullish sense, if Bitcoin does stay above its 200, Ethereum likely would not move down 10% if Bitcoin doesn't even go down like 3%, right? So what would Ethereum be hitting in that case? It might rest upon its daily 55 EMA, which is going to be having a bullish cross with the 10. Let me get a cleaner chart. Where the red is crossing the blue here. Yeah, see that? See the daily 200 EMA coming and see right in the box. Kablam. The orange line. Anyway, I think Ethereum could come back down to test the blue line as the red line crosses it here, perhaps tomorrow. And that would point and put in its time and keep moving up. And that would be in line with Bitcoin coming back down to test this orange line here, the daily 200 EMA. But they will be testing and being supported by different EMAs. But on a percentage movement and posturing basis, that would put them par for par. So on Ethereum, if you see Bitcoin really chilling out on the daily 200, I think Ethereum will chill out on the daily 55 with the 10 getting ready to cross it. Okay, so that's situation number 2. Situation number 3, Bitcoin really could go back all the way down, close to the bottom of its range now. So this could be, a more bullish repeat of this scenario here. It could be an extended downturn. However, I doubt that that's going to happen before September. I think that would happen in September, maybe come back down to the 30s. But what could happen in the most bearish case here is that was it for this short-lived relief rally. And it comes back down, within the range, at the bottom of the range, or even breaks through. But I don't consider that my top 1 or 2 probabilities because you have things happening that did not happen during this last relief rally. And in that 2019 fractal that I showed you, we already have better things going on, more bullish price action, right? So let me take off a few of these EMAs here. All right. So I'm concentrating on, let me maybe draw on price so it's less, let me just go like this. I'll draw in roughly where price was. Something like that. All right. Now that's even worse. I'll get rid of that. Anyway, right now though, this line here did not cross. So a bullish cross was avoided by price moving back down before that bullish cross could happen. Right now, we have a bullish cross happening, which helped propel Bitcoin up and above its daily 200. So that's a major difference right there. Another major difference is on this run, the daily 200 was, the thing that blocked and stopped Bitcoin's price from going up. It kissed this line. If you want to zoom in on it, it just kissed that line. And I'm on the daily, so there was a lot of activity that happened during the times that it wicked up. So let me draw a line on this so you can see how much activity it got. So you can see the chaos within those wicks. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? So pretty clear indication that that was a big obstacle. And now Bitcoin has passed it and seems to be wanting to base on top. So this same orange line is that same EMA. Bitcoin went totally past it, quick fake out to the downside, charge back above, and is basing on a horizontal just above that line. And that horizontal goes back left on the chart just a little bit, a previous local high. So there are a lot of things going for Bitcoin right now that indicate that it will not go back down to the middle of the range nearly quite yet. Personally, I'm eyeballing that potential. My main idea in the midterm is September or October for a Bitcoin, probably September, I would guess. September for a retest of that triangle somewhere, even if that's only like 38K, the top of the, that range, whether it hits a horizontal range of the triangle. That's kind of what I'm looking for there. But in the meantime, I think there's just too much stuff going on for Bitcoin that I don't think this rally is going to turn into that 2019 rally fractal that I said, in which it really broke down and made lower lows, because that's exactly what happened after. So also what's going on for Bitcoin, just like I mentioned in that video that I started this video off with, is that there was bullish divergence on the daily here. So bullish divergence means RSI is going up as price keeps making lower lows, which is exactly what was happening in this time frame. So RSI was making higher lows and going up as price was going down. You had bullish divergence, right? But you didn't really have any strikes of bullish divergence necessarily here yet. Wick down, higher low. So yeah, this actually went down lower. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with bullish divergence, just real quick, price made a lower low here. Okay, it went below 29K when that first drop only went to 29K. So you can see how the price was price made a low here, but it actually price made a lower low here, while RSI made a higher low. So in the general, so that divergence means they're doing opposites. So divergence just means the opposite. An indicator is doing the opposite of what price is doing, meaning price is probably going to turn around pretty soon per the bullish play. It doesn't always work like that, but that's what it suggests that could happen, right? It's an indicator trying to guess probabilities of price action for the future. So we didn't have the bullish divergence quite to that extent here, because I don't think we truly had a lower low quite yet. Yeah, the lower low happened afterward, and so that would have marked the first thing of bullish divergence, the first strike. This was the third strike of daily bullish divergence, which we did not have here. So I don't know exactly which path that Bitcoin's going to take among these three, or if it might even do something more bullish. So let's cover a couple what ifs, since the momentum is up. What ifs is it prints a red day here, a small red day, a small green day, and then breaks back out next week and goes straight up to 46K, and that was the bull trap, and then it moves down somewhere. Maybe it comes back down to 35K. I think that's possible. However, given that I think a test of this range, or a bottom retest, or a double bottom, or whatever, I have the idea that won't happen until September. So I have a feeling that even though Bitcoin might have a small little, hiccup type of retest down before it moves up, what I think is going to happen is over the next couple of months, month and a half or so before September, I guess it's just August is starting here in a few days, so in a month, month and a half. But I feel that the general range, so the trading range for this section was here. The trading range for this section was down here. I simply think the trading range will be moved up on top of where the previous one was, and I think Bitcoin might trade within this exact same range here again for a while, perhaps with a few spikes up. But I think with the perhaps exception of a quick few days up here, I think Bitcoin would re-enter this trading range. So let me make a box so you can see this better. So I would say trading range like maybe even there, the meat of it. I think the trading range might move up to here for quite a while. Perhaps months. With one or two retests outside of it, similar to how this one had a test outside of the trading range. And then, maybe even two of them. And then in September, a retest down here before it truly starts getting really aggressive like it just did here. However, it might be doing that right now, and I don't know. So that's going to be my what if. So my what if is that my main idea for my midterm play, September double bottom or October, something like that. Let's say that doesn't play out. Well, what I think could happen if that doesn't play out from a midterm perspective, and maybe even a what if, is that this is the pump and it's going to continue just with a little bit of consolidation here and there, and it's just going to keep continue, maybe test all-time highs, then retest, only back down to, let's say, 41 or 40K. So what Bitcoin could be doing on the midterm time frame, it might be making its way up to this trading range here to test the bottom side of it. So let's say the meat of this range was like this. Bitcoin might go straight up to test that range. Okay, maybe not quite the top of it. Let me redraw that. That's maybe a little too high. But what might be happening right now is that there truly is going to be a retest of this high structure here soon. Something like this in September. And then when I thought the double bottom might happen, what actually happens is a retest of the upper end of this area, and it holds strong around 41 to 40K. So from a midterm play, I actually think that this is pretty possible, if not a top 3 midterm play. Outside of my main idea, which is I would love to grab a double bottom here in September, but I might be fooling myself. I might not have that chance, but I'm going to plan for that chance because Bitcoin could break down again, right? So that could be what's happening because this is extremely bullish. However, here's the thing. There aren't many times in Bitcoin history where you have 8 green candles in a row. And remember how this went for me last time. It worked out pretty well. I don't know if I want to use that TA right now, but just for kicks and giggles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days, okay? All right, let's try to find another 8 days. Let's go hunting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, I think something like this could happen. Actually, this maybe not go quite that high on a percentage basis, but that could be what happens. Anyway, so we found one pretty quickly, but I doubt we'll find another one very quickly. So I'm looking for a string. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then it moved sideways, went back up. Ooh, this is a big move. But that's what took it up to 14K. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then a big red day. Number 8, I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even during climbing out of that bear market when it had that huge bullish move, it didn't do 8 in a row. It just had one big one, and then it kind of went sideways for a while and just kept climbing up. 1, 2, 3, 4. What about pulling out of the coronavirus dip? It actually, this price action is pretty steady compared to what's happening right now. So just know that these 8 days, I mean, I haven't been able to find a string of 9 in a row. However, the couple times that there were 8 in a row, it did just go sideways and it continued to move up. So if it does do that, I would say its retest or double bottom won't be any sort of double bottom. It'll just come retest 40K and then charge up to 60K somewhere around November, December. And this 8 days of green candles in a row is potentially a pretty big deal. So let's, where were those 8 days, darn it? Crap, where'd they go? No, is this it? 1, 2. Yeah, this is it. Okay, perfect. So let's take a fractal of this. Fractal meaning I'm just going to copy paste the price action and say, hey, it could do something similar, right? So look at that. It's following a pretty darn similar path, and it has my idea in mind that I think I'm going to try to, I would like to pick up some more at about 36K, which in this fractal comes back down to 36.3. If it moves something similar. That was the last time there were 8 days in a row. So I could see a couple red candles here the next 2 days, and then some more sideways action getting back above so this orange line here is the daily 10 EMA. So I think there's going to be a breakage of the daily 10 to test somewhere, like see all these market struts. So see all these candles closing here in the wick there, and these candles here. So that forms, like a daily trend line from the last market structure or local highs. And I think that could come down to test these local highs here and then working its way back up the daily 21 and then making its move, to the 46K range. I think that could happen. And that is my main idea for the short term, is almost exactly this. I think this blue box is going to be somewhere where I'm going to have interest in taking profits and getting out of all long positions and waiting for some type of, retracement down before I re-enter trying to be long. And so just so that fractal that I got is from the 2019 and more recent. So the last fractal I picked worked. Will this one work out just as well? Probably not. I don't know. But just know that I really feel that price is moving more similarly to 2019, 2020 than it is to any year before. So maybe use this as a guide for how bullish or not that Bitcoin is being. If you see it crashing below this, well, oh gosh, we might come revisit the bottom of the triangle or break through. Something to that effect. A lot of times viewing fractals like that and seeing the deviation that price makes outside of it, if any, sometimes it nails it perfectly. But it's nice to know because it gives you a heads up. Hey, maybe I should be more bearish. It broke out of what that fractal was, and therefore it's more bearish. Sometimes it just gives you a nice litmus test. Is that how you should trade? Make the forefront of your trading as a primary indicator? Hell no. It's simply a visual to make you go check your other things to say, what type, or maybe not like, heck yes, I'm in a short, but should I close it now? Something to that effect. So, personally, I just took on a light short, not trying to, take home the whole cow or anything. I did not go heavy. When did I go heavy last? I think I was wrong for like 3 or 4 or 5 days, and then it turned around in my favor. Last time I went heavy, so but I'm not going to go heavy on the short because this is a very bullish move, and if I short, maybe I'll be stuck in that and it just goes sideways. I'm barely any profit, then it goes bam, I get stopped out. So, but I am personally in a very, very small short position because of this 8-day thing, and I'll probably close that short. Maybe I probably won't even wait all the way down here because I think if it wicks below this daily 21, I'll probably close my shorts there and look to long somewhere else here. So I won't try to hold my shorts all the way down there because the chance of it hitting this line, it might not be that great. Bitcoin might hold steady above that. Okay. Now, I typically am an EMA trader, so I'm using mostly the daily 21, but let's go look at the weekly. So Bitcoin right now has gone, so from the time it tested it out here, has gone 4% above the yellow line, which is the weekly 21 EMA. In that fractal, wanted. I think it went about 18% above. So it went 18% above the weekly 21 EMA, not the red line, but the yellow line. And in total, from bottom to top of that move was 48%. So let's go measure both of those. It's at 43%. It's already hit 43%. 48% would put it at 43K, which would be that last gasp of air that I was thinking. And I said between 42.2, maybe 43 at the highest. So if it were equivalent from top to bottom, that's where it hit. But we had a second number. We had the 18% number. However, the average of these relief rallies is not quite 18%. Some of them are higher. Some of them are lower, 13%, 11%, 9%. And those numbers are all the times that Bitcoin popped its head. Let me stretch this out. Those are all the times that Bitcoin popped its head during the dead cat bounces. So that's what those numbers are. So let's say somewhere around, let's pick 12. So a reasonable guess, 12 would be reasonable before Bitcoin really cools off. Where would that put it? That's all the way up. That's in that box with no cool off yet. And so if it did that, I would assume that Bitcoin would hold strong, like situation number 2, hold strong above the daily 200 and then try one more up. But it would do it across 2 weeks or 3 weeks instead of just one massive bull trap in 1 week before it moved down. So, but the big thing that I am focused on right now is I know that over time, most of the first attempts to get above the weekly 21, most of them fail. Okay, after an extended downturn. So I really think it wants to come back down below this weekly 21 and base. Let me take the price off and base back off of the 10, maybe here next week, which would put it up here, which aligns with the daily 200. So I'm really thinking before price tries to get into this box above 43K, I think it's going to chill and then come back down and then try it, and be fairly different price action from that fractal at the end of it. So I think there's going to be 2 attempts here. Is what I'm seeing. And because I just know that I usually get weary of a move up after it's wicking past the weekly 21. So that's what my mind and one of my main ideas is focused on, is the weekly 21 and price action above it for the first time in a long time. So let's go back and test this just real fast here. And well, here it sure didn't. Look at this. Dang, that was an insane move. Wow. So it wicked above it, and actually the corona at it just went back to its local top. My goodness, that was aggressive. So here it actually kept going, making me a liar. I said first attempts though. Okay, first attempts. Here we go. So it goes below. First attempt went above and failed. Second attempt, it actually stayed above quite a bit. It went 27% above, which is what could happen. And then you had your massive capitulation, mostly driven by the stock market. I don't think that would have happened in Bitcoin. Actually, I was kind of looking for it to come back down to 5 or 6K, but I'd never suspected this. So its first attempt failed. So I kind of am feeling that it's going to come back down, retest something else, have one red week, and then potentially the very next week try to get its second attempt in, as opposed to putting in all of this time. So I don't personally foresee Bitcoin putting in how much time? 84 more days before it'll give its second try above. I don't anticipate that, but let's measure that out and just, show you what that would look like on a chart here. So it's massive. Was that the massive move up? Yeah, I did the move up. So let's put it like that. And man, that actually nails 44K right in that box. It might go straight to that box, folks. Man, it really might. And then not get back above until October with your double bottom in September. That could be what happens, but I'm quite a bit more bullish than this, and this would be one hell of a bull trap if this fractal played out. This, I don't know. I see it as very possible, but I think that in general, Bitcoin will put in more time up at a slightly higher box range. So this green box, I think it's going to put in some time here with maybe a few visits up here in the meantime, and then come back down without coming to the bottom of the range. Okay. So that's all the things that I'm seeing for Bitcoin. Now, another reason why I was correctly bullish for a pump actually, at the bottom of the range is because of Ethereum on the monthly. And I covered this in one of my videos a little while back, but let me get a cleaner chart. This is mega bullish to me. And I made a video on this. This is the monthly 10 EMA. Ethereum is acting reacting nicely to it in a bullish way. So I think this reaction to the monthly 10 is showing crypto's true colors. And it almost appears that it's going to have a soft landing and then really base off of it and then start making all-time highs around the new year, along with the rest of crypto. And that was another reason behind my thoughts that Fractal would work out because of Ethereum doing this. I just really had the strong idea that this was going to be a, maybe actually not this month. This month was red the whole time, but the next month is going to be green. Perhaps with the first couple weeks down, but I have a feeling that next month will come, to the top. Right? Could in August, Ethereum could find itself at the height of the month of August around $2,700, especially if this month closes strong, which it really looks like it's going to. It has 3 days left in the trading month, so I'm going to leave this here and put question mark. There we go. And so that was one of the main reasons. So Ethereum is suggesting that maybe I should be more bullish than I am now. However, even my short-term idea that has Bitcoin retracing down a little bit, that's still bullish because that's on the daily scale. So within a month, has 30 whatever days, price can move up quite a bit within it. So I think that also leaves room. My short-term idea could still end up agreeing with a more bullish case because it's such a short time frame, and the bullishness would be on the monthly scale. So let's look at Bitcoin on the monthly, all right? And let's take a look at what we're seeing here, and then we'll wrap up this 𝐵𝑧𝐻. All right. So whenever Bitcoin has, so Ethereum did not close below it. So I've already covered this idea that there's a relief rally typically it's actually always 1 to 2 months, or has always been 1 to 2 months after a closure under the monthly 10. And that's exactly what happened. It took the next month, you had the pump after its first closure right here under that red line. See that candle closing under it? Not the wick, but the candle body itself. However, with Ethereum not having closed, what could be shaping up is something more similar to this, folks. I really think that this is about what could end up happening, with the idea that the true colors of crypto are not that Bitcoin closed below here, like maybe it closed below here, but rather, I think the true colors could be more something like this. And it's getting ready to start flying, around the new year, or even before the new year. So let's take a fractal of this and see where that would lead Bitcoin. So I did it with the first green, so let's put it on the first green. And does it align with my idea that Bitcoin might make all-time highs around the new year? January 1st, right there. The month of January. So with the idea, the midterm idea that Ethereum is showing the true bullish colors of crypto, right? Or monthly candle bullish, so that can be pretty bearish on a daily scale, right? You can have a 20% dump, but have a bullish setup on the monthly. So just know that if I'm talking monthly, if you take along when I'm talking about monthly, I mean, you could get liquidated like that because the monthly could end up shaping up exactly like I'm talking about, but you get screwed by taking a long now. Hell, I wouldn't take a long after 8 green days. You'd be crazy. I think you'd be crazy for taking a long after eight green days. But anyway, so so a lot could happen within this, right? But this is roughly what I think could be shaping up. Something to this effect with the idea, again, one more time, that Ethereum did not close a monthly below the 10 EMA. And so perhaps I should ignore Bitcoins, given that essentially a crypto cartel with a lot of money and algorithms and all that stuff was printing the exact shapes, that those exact shapes make it so that you can't truly take at face value that closure below the 10. And therefore looking at Ethereum is the better way to go. And therefore you should have been looking at something more bullish the whole time as opposed to more bearish stuff, right? So that is, and again, look at these candles though. A lot could happen here, right? So it actually aligns with these lines perfectly. That is crazy. Look at it. So the next 2 months do stay in that trading box. Then you finally get it to the top of this box. Then the next month it hits this box and has trouble getting past it for 3 whole months. And then it breaks out once it gets past this box. So that fractal, honestly, is something I might talk about quite a bit because it aligns with personally my main idea. And when the charts tell me to let go of that idea, obviously I will. I won't fight. I don't fight against it or anything like that. But right now, that is one of my mid longish term ideas taking us to the new year. So, which means right now, if this plays out, so I'm saying if this plays out, accumulating your alts or accumulating whatever you want to have, like in current times, or over the next month or two, especially if we get a retracement down, which would be better, that would be the time to accumulate, a very opportune time. So those are all the things that I'm seeing in the charts, both short, medium, or not both, but short, medium, and long term. And I used a bunch of different time frames, EMAs, and horizontals, and they seem to align both across Ethereum and Bitcoin. Just a lot of things are aligning. However, I still think there are several very probable or very possible things that could happen. And for the third or fourth most probable, I would say that Bitcoin, in a bearish sense, could come crashing back down, after this rally here, down to the bottom of its triangle, which you can't see the triangle in the monthly. I think that would be the fourth most likely. So therefore, I think the top 3 most likely situations are not seeing Bitcoin much below 35K very soon at all, over the next month and a half. That's personally what I'm thinking. So, and for Ethereum, even though the EMAs are not aligning, that also aligns pretty well with Ethereum, that it could do something like, well, Ethereum's price history is too short. Man, Ethereum could have a big month next month. Let's do something more like this. And that would put it in November a little bit. No, actually, no, it's way up here. So, one more time. About like that. And that would have Ethereum breaking all-time highs in December. If that were to play out. I'm not saying this is what's going to play out. But previous price history, due to the reaction off the monthly 10, that's how it behaved. So the chance of it behaving somewhere similar, the same flavor, but not the same food, right? Chance of that happening is not that bad. So there could be a lot of bullishness for the rest of the year, perhaps starting in October, November. I would really think that both Ethereum and Bitcoin are flirting with the previous tops or getting to the bottom of those structures. So let me point that out on Bitcoin here. Right. Kind of losing my voice. That's why I hadn't made videos this week. So this structure here of the previous high, 64K and all that Wyckoff stuff, I think December, that's what this box represents. And so that also aligns with Ethereum. So the way Ethereum has moved off the monthly 10 aligns almost exactly with how Bitcoin has moved off the monthly 10 copied and pasted onto current price action. Boxes seem to align, percentages seem to align. So I personally am feeling a little bit more bullish in the mid to long term than I had been previously, right? Which is easy to do if you have 8 green candles in a row. So I hopefully I'm not being biased. However, there are things in the chart saying that I wouldn't say there's anything in the chart saying freaking 150K Bitcoin by the end of the year. I am not seeing that in the charts at all. And I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. I like to think of myself as a little perhaps too bullish on Bitcoin. I'm not seeing that yet. So what I'm seeing instead of that is about all-time highs somewhere around 64K, 55 to maybe 70K around December, January, maybe February, somewhere around there. So if you're new and you liked what you saw and you happen to hit subscribe, let me know whether you want to be a cryptillion or a crypto crackhead. Folks in my community pick their crypto pronoun. It's gender neutral and it can be gender fluid, but usually you just stick with one. Most people know they're a crackhead if they're a crackhead. And the patient people are cryptillions. That's how I view it. So I think you could probably guess. And if you've already subscribed, let me know. But you don't know if I'm a crackhead or a cryptillion or how I consider myself. You can make your guesses down there if you want. But if you're not new, just try to remember hit that thumbs up. Help the algo until all the retail investors come back and pump views up and make it more exciting. And until then, y'all just got Timified. Barely, because I can barely speak.